The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of a never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
Hello, welcome to the 163rd episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today are I Am For I Am. Some know him as William or I'm For I'm. Also Greg from Rivet. Sean is waking up and getting a shirt on, I do believe. Lisa is running late. We do expect that they'll be here soon. I'm Joe, founder and architect of Dragon Chain. And John, who is our DAO voted MC, has not appeared for a while as he is lost in the tunnels of Brooklyn. Where is it? It's somewhere in New York. Tunnels, New York. Either way, and I do think he would appreciate an old joke that gets beaten to death.
I think so.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in a bamboo cage down there somewhere.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Man, I hope they're feeding him. And I hope that he's, maybe he's getting some good practice telling jokes. Maybe that's how.
I think so. He's probably got a lot of improv material with his captors.
Yeah, he's gonna get canceled.
Almost certainly.
If he brings any of that out. Let's see here. So the first thing to look at is we have. Oh wait, I guess that's not yet. Sorry. First update on the layer ownership tokens, the governance NFTs, the distribution from last week's episode. Every host will receive 133 lot. Every topic contributor will receive 166 lot. So if you get a question in there on air, you get some lot. Last week's themes were nominated by I Am For I Am, who will receive 166 lot for the themes. For the theme, I guess for you get 166 lot for that, as well as being a host, right? And probably a contributor.
Double dipping. I'm double dipping.
People need to start asking questions in here.
Please.
So that I Am For I Am doesn't
almost
take it all
scandalous
over.
to have a double dip rule.
Yeah. Actually, it's almost like a triple.
The code is the law. So okay. So the next, let's see here.
If you don't like it, get in there.
That's right.
You get perpetual passive income, free edits, and most importantly, governance votes, which you can see here. So I'm going to show you that, for example, the World Blockchain Roundtable theme vote or topic vote, whatever you want to call it, for the month of July was selected just in time. So for these shows, so we have brainstorm session, how to tokenize assets. You know what? I'm going to read them in the order that they're posted here, so that this is the order of the shows. How blockchain is solving real world problems is the first. That's this episode.
Yeah, actually, we got them flip flopped. If you notice the score, the vote, but that's okay.
We did it. I requested that of the producer so that someone who was traveling could be here on the next show next week. Excellent. Which is brainstorm session, how to tokenize assets with and without ownership. And then without ownership is interesting, right? I want to know.
I put that in there on purpose.
This is especially interesting in light of Loper Bright, isn't it? This question.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? What's that mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, considering the fact that Chevron deference is dead, ding dong, freaking witch.
Dead.
Yes. Third up is elections on the blockchain, and fourth is will governments allow privacy coins and tokens. So there are 4 episodes, for next week. There are a couple of other. I mean, there are a bunch of good ones on here still that maybe we'll get to next month in August. It's already going to be August. It's crazy.
Cool thing about these topics, man, is they're also salient. They're also of the moment that we're probably all going to talk. We're going to talk about all of them no matter what. Which is pretty cool.
And I think they'll flow from one week to another. Last week we talked about this, and this, and that applies to this new topic.
Yep. And by the way, I'm going to try to get Aaron Day's been on a few times. We'll try to get him back because he's brilliant. And then I want to try to get Sal Mayweather, who agreed to come on. There's been too much going on, and we didn't have a schedule yet. So I need to get him the schedule and the hosts of. I was on that podcast. I think they released it a week ago. The Legacy Right, and
that was good, Joe. That was really good.
That was a really fun conversation for one, right?
See, I need to see this, man. I didn't catch this conversation.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Sal Mayweather's a kind of a hero in this space as well.
He's amazing. I've followed him for so long that it was an honor to be on that show. It was an awesome show, and the two hosts, they're great. I mean, it was fun, and it was very worthwhile conversation. So this week, though, how blockchain is solving real world problems. So I have a few current events queued up, and so those can go after all this. We have to decide if the format is by the way, is the format okay? Is 2 hours too crazy? Is it okay that it's split entire, questions first and then current events? Do we need to interleave? Do we want to do something else?
I personally like it. I like the idea of questions first. I think we had kind of a disservice when we had it flip-flopped.
Yeah.
Current events.
I think so too. And by the way, this whole program, this podcast, whatever the heck you call it, World Blockchain Roundtable, used to be a meetup group called Blockchain Seattle. And I did find that it was extremely useful
to start with questions.
Yeah, well, just to spread the gospel of blockchain. Well, it's essentially
absolutely
anybody who comes in can ask any question about anything related, and we would try to have someone there that could answer it. We had people from every industry. We had lawyers there. That's how Dragon Chain got its its corporate counsel back then.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but all these mechanics that you built around the tokenomics are designed to encourage behaviors that the community wants to incentivize itself to engage in, and to discourage behaviors that it doesn't.
Absolutely.
And not only is that a super powerful amplifier for moderation, like imagine community notes, but with a reward every time you actually contributed.
Yes.
Yes. Like that click matters, and your thought behind it matters, and that's what we do here.
Yep.
So it's kind of a revolutionary idea. It doesn't sound at all like a scheme where you pre-invest in something that hasn't been built, and hope that the skills of the managers will net you a profit.
Right. Yes. And it's funny too, because say, we sat down with Twitter way before Elon. And they were bringing up, we have trouble. We can't define communities. There are no communities on Twitter. And we're like, we have some things you could plug in that you could use. We also have things to help you with, the misinformation, disinformation, fake news issue that they would bring up often, which is, you imagine community notes is a vast improvement over what it was. But imagine if community notes was a prediction market that wasn't based on monetary prediction, but on my reputation, that my reputation will grow, and more people will see my stuff if I tell the system that this note is accurate or inaccurate or proper or not, and why, right? I mean, there's so many things they could do that is all behavior tech. And there she is, Lisa.
The especially neat thing about that is that it's the real power behind this technology. And we haven't really been able to talk about it as overtly because of things like Chevron, right? Where if we opened our mouths too much about all the things that made blockchain different from securities, we'd be sitting here all day making their arguments for them because they would just take what we did and flip it and say it sounds just like this. But now that Chevron deference is gone, man, we can tell it, and they can either accept it or not.
Yep. Okay, so let's get. Hello, Elisa. How's it going?
Hi, guys.
Morning,
yeah,
Lisa.
sorry I'm running late today.
No worries.
We're good.
We're hoping Sean still shows up.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I haven't heard from him, so we'll see.
he has family in town, so there's
they're welcome to. They can.
everyone's welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. First question from I am for I am, the great coinpaprika.com. Where have I heard that before? I've seen something.
I actually favor that one over all of them.
Really? I've heard of it. I've never.
It's more accurate in that it doesn't pick some winners and losers. Don't get me wrong here, but Hex token was always sitting at 200 on the ranking on CoinMarketCap, and it didn't matter what it did or how it performed. It was always sitting at like 200, 205.
That's one of the current events coming up,
right? Because it had stabilized its basic market dynamics and wasn't changing.
There's a related current event, so not about Hex, but a very similar thing.
Dead project and the stable are the same thing.
Yeah, so Coin Paprika had it at its actual market share value, which was within the top 10 at one point.
I'm surprised they haven't been shut down.
I know, no kidding, right?
All right.
Everything has the value that it has when you buy or sell it.
But the reason I posted this image of yesterday's market prices of all the the various cryptos was just because it kind of related to the question in that are cryptos making a difference in the world?
Yeah. So if you look at we could say, hey, the top 50. Let's say the top 100. Let's say the top 1,000. Your question, in my opinion, is the question that everybody needs to ask. And, it's frankly, long term, this is the moneymaker. If you want to know where to really make the money and not just, I'm going to flip something next week. Of course, I have no idea how to, the pump and dump stuff, all the schemes that happen. Mm-hmm. By the way, nothing on the show is financial advice. But
also, we're not attorneys.
Yeah, we're not attorneys. Thank God.
Financial advisors.
Yes.
Former practicing lawyer here may take some liberties with the not attorneys thing.
Yes. But it is good that former practicing, that is such a reputation boost that you are former, right? That,
right, exactly. Oh, yeah, the former.
Like honor.
Right.
No,
anyway.
Covered.
So
I actually quit that to go front a punk rock group. Not shitting you. That's exactly what I did with my life after that for a little while. So it's kind of a weird,
weird
fun fact, Greg fact.
What was the name of the group?
The Mail Order Brides.
Right on.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Wow,
all right. Question: which projects in the crypto space have made a difference in the world and why? Right. So I think there have been a few. And whether the difference is what it should be it's a subjective question maybe. But so Lisa.
Well, I mean, you can't leave Bitcoin out, of course, with what's going on in El Salvador and change the whole country and their economy and all of that. I mean, this list could go on and on. I think it'd be fun to do like a positive and a negative list. Because you could also put in, things like Hex or some of the big rug pulls or whatever, things were Celsius, things that people got really screwed on,
Luna.
People ought to do this listing style. Like we had to take all the people who are pro the growth list will be longer, and versus pro the scam list will be longer. Like good things versus bad things. If you're an optimist,
because made a difference is really
very subjective.
You should be stuck on the pessimist side though if you're the optimist, and the pessimist ought to have to do the optimism. I think we got to force ourselves to flip sides.
We could do that. So maybe if we get through the questions, we can go back and do that. That might be a good thing.
Oh yeah,
let's do that. All right. Okay. So, are you done, Lisa? Any more to add?
I mean,
there's a lot. Right?
There's a lot. Yeah. I don't know. You could say Solana, even though it crashes all the time, but it brought a lot of normies to the NFT space.
Yeah.
And so
Made
into
it affordable.
crypto, you could say, I mean, you could go on and on.
Yep.
But you guys,
we probably ought to ask exactly how Litecoin too, because I mean, a lot of your work is powered by your association with it, correct?
well, so I got the reason that I'm Litecoin Lisa is because that was my introduction to crypto. And so when my mom first shared crypto and how our financial system is so broken and all the corruption in the world and what's really going on, she gave my husband and I our first Litecoin and showed us how it worked. And that was our introduction. And so that's why I'm Litecoin Lisa. And I do follow a project, and I'm really proud of all the work that they do. I love that they continue to grow, and they're doing a lot of work. They have a conference coming up in Vegas later in July, but they have the privacy layer. They're the test net for Bitcoin. A lot of things wouldn't have even ever happened on Bitcoin if it hadn't been for Litecoin. And
Fact.
so yeah, it's a great
I
project.
always wonder how.
And I mean, you wouldn't be
their first
involved in the
name versus
space
their
maybe
last
if it
name.
didn't exist. So like
Right.
there's a whole bunch of pluses in people we haven't met.
Sure. Yeah, the whole Litecoin fam, the majority of people there.
Like Litecoin Lisa, where it's a given name, right? Versus Johnny Litecoin, where it's his surname. And I always wonder, is there some meaning behind that, right? Anyway, I am for I am. What?
Well, for me, I think Lisa kind of nailed it with Bitcoin and its introduction into society and how it's changed and rippled through. It's touched just about every country on this planet, right? Even North Korea is trying to mine Bitcoin or other cryptos just as a revenue source. So from that perspective, a lot of folks that were liberty minded were certainly tuned into the crypto world and the crypto space and Bitcoin. And look at Roger Vere's status, how it grew and grew, and that certainly made a change because for the first time we were able to look at programmable money and money that was not in the hands of government, and a vision could be created from that, and that concept or theory could start to be tested. Proof of work and that whole idea, the Byzantine general of not being able to double spend something. I think that also was kind of an awakening moment for society. So
bureaucracy sends bureaucrats, man.
Yeah, it had a giant impact that way, and probably woke some people up to the idea of more liberty-minded focus, red pilled them, however you want to say it or call it out. And that from Bitcoin's introduction to the world has made a giant change. And then in comes Ethereum and the idea and the concept of smart contracts. The idea of decentralization became a buzzword and a talking point. I got my T-shirt here, decentralize everything.
Yep.
That is kind of what I think spawned a big change in societies as a whole and a different way of looking at things. But then you can drill down to other things like Dogecoin being the first meme coin and drawing more people into the crypto space, and then them kind of feeling out and looking at other things and hearing ideas and concepts that were more liberty minded. So you had finance, you have the idea of, wow, blockchain means that my data won't be disrupted, interrupted, deleted, and the whole concept there. And all the tokens that go and coins that come off of that, proof of work, proof of stake, and all of the other hashgraph. Boy, I'm telling you, it is really, when you step back and look at it in those terms and those ideas, you can see that it has had a big impact on societies as a whole. It's created a whole new industry and a subset industries. So, I tip my hat to all the developers who have made it so.
Very good. That's
Right.
great.
I also tip my hat to them.
We need to clip that and
Greg's next.
that as an intro.
Sean will get.
Hang on, I don't know what he said, and y'all are talking about how great it was. Now it's the worst.
Okay, Greg, real quick.
You'd have approved. We'll put it that way. Okay. This is the number one question, I guess, to anybody who's curious about building anything. And to me, this is like a deeply philosophical question. Like, where does the good in the world come from? And, once upon a time, I decided that I was going to follow what I saw in the world. And I saw that people creating things, building things, those people are the ones who are adding greatness, adding goodness, adding enjoyment, and adding richness and texture, right, to the way that human beings get to live. And I've seen crypto tokens I thought were jokes that as soon as I poked my head in the Discord, completely understood why they were there and just backed off thinking scam, because there are a ton of people in there who are connecting over this idea. And whether or not that's the idea that they end up working on is not the point. In fact, it's kind of the opposite of the point. They're going to end up somewhere else. And the more people we connect up to this thing, the better. I think every single damn one of them that's still an active project today is a great token that's done a lot for the world.
Great. Sean, what do you think? So the question, I'll show you the question. What projects in the crypto...
Hurt my foot really bad.
No.
So, I can't walk.
Oh,
no.
I had to take painkillers and then wait for them to kick in before I could make it from my bedroom. So that's why I'm
sorry, man. No worries. We're always here. You can join anytime. We'll
glad you're here.
We'll include you. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
What projects in the crypto space have made a difference in the world, and why? This is time for you. So that's the question. What do you think, Sean?
Pepe.
Pepe.
Yes, agree.
Y'all, this is very weird. Wednesday's family night. It's always family night. And it's always weird because whatever movie we watch on Thursday, it have some reason to bring it up. I and Lee, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, made some life-changing decisions in the past couple weeks. Because a lot of you all's influence the number go up is a huge bunch of people. And like lawyers, I was talking to Lisa, lawyers have messed a lot of things up. I don't think when someone touches you like this, that's assault and they should be arrested. And that's I think it should be if someone hurts you, not invading your space. There's a lot of stuff that is weird. I'm going to go on a tangent because this is weird for me. So 5 years ago, I thought that I mattered. I was very naive. I had no reason to go on YouTube. My kids were in college, and they one of them was going to be wanted to be a U.S. Marshal. The other wanted to be a teacher. Once my one son learned about law enforcement and how everything works, he's like, "Wow, I don't want to do that." And they love video games, and they said, "We want to be YouTubers. Finish college, leave college, and want to be YouTubers." I said, "Okay." They went to work. They got jobs. They worked, like full time. Saved all their money. Bought the best equipment. I mean, spent all their money, crazy amount of money. And I love crypto. I got in down the rabbit hole and going crazy. And I know how things work now. But at the time, there's all these cool projects, these ICOs that I think could change the world, and no one talked about them. Everyone talked about the same 20 projects or whatever. I didn't know it's because they were paid. I thought, oh, there's a lot of Neo fanboys who really like this Neo thing, or they really liked it, Mm-hmm. And then so I got free software to capture my screen, I was not on camera or anything, which I never wanted to be on camera. And then I did this like hour and a half long dive into Space Chain. I didn't know who Jeff Garzik was.
Great project.
Yeah, right. And then the stuff that they were doing and had created, and then they'd already made a spaceship operating system for a spaceship, and it
worked.
Yeah, it worked. They already created mini satellites, and we're putting them in orbit, making it so that any poor country or mid-sized business could afford a satellite, which would also put blockchain in space, not on the Earth. So there's much harder to control and get to. Anyway, I did it, and within an hour, the CEO messaged me on Twitter, and I was like, "You're not the CEO of Space Chain. Come on." He's like, "I really like everything you said. You're really good at everything." I was like, who are you? What are you doing? What, I don't have any money. Leave me alone. And he's like, "No, I thought maybe you might want to talk or something. Have an interview." I was like, "You want me to interview you? Dude, I just talked about how cool all this crazy stuff is, and you want to take time to talk to me?" So it was, but then for a time, I thought that was like I mattered. And there used to be, like, I think I have a decent reputation. I have people in the space that I associate with. I don't associate with certain people. I don't do certain things. I call out things I think are scams or bad. I don't like take part in them. And this new run, in the past 2 years, I'm struggling. Lee's struggling. I did a video for Jizz Coin. Yeah. So
was this a project to access people who hadn't been vaccinated sperm?
No, it was just
I could see that being like a legit use case.
Masturbation and stuff. It was, low point. But and I had done. It's not like I didn't do adult stuff. I did stuff on Constitution coin, like way years ago, but for Europe. And I told the guys, like, you're going up against like the Russian mafia and other mafias to take the money from them and put it into the hands of like actual workers, which it's all legal. And he's like, "Oh yeah,
economically repersoning people is revolutionary."
Literally, like 2 months later, it's like,
yes.
"Yeah, we're gonna make a dating app with all the stuff we built." You were right.
Wow.
But anyway, meme coins. There weren't meme coins before. There was never meme coins. There was community coins that were about a community and hang out and supporting each other. It was the new tavern, the new pub, the new place to hang out.
Yeah.
The new secret club once they figured out token gated communities.
Exactly. And then it was created from a meme. So that's where it kind of all took off. And people that I know that I thought were not you guys level, but I used to talk about them in the same breath. They created one of them created the biggest crypto game ever, biggest in all Apple Store. Millions of users. It was an amazing tool because it gave air coins. Gave people free crypto. I could give it to any no coiner, just like Pokemon Go, exactly like Pokemon Go, but you find coins, and then they're really your coins.
Right. So play this marginally addictive game, and you're hooked.
And and it wasn't like a little bit.
Not to the game, but to the tokens.
And then when you click on the token, it's like, what is this? And then you looked in your wallet, and it told you all about what the project was. It had a link straight to the website. It was an amazing tool to like learn about crypto, to get free crypto, to get people in. And then they were doing an update. They stopped. I'm waiting. I have like projects that I'm talking to that I want to get on, on there to get, their token on there. And the dude keeps saying, "Man, I'm working on some stuff. I'll talk to you." The dude, I got to talk to you. And then I have a call with him. He's in his gorgeous, probably a couple $1 million apartment, in Canada. Scott, he had to be in a penthouse. Huge skyline behind him. He's like, man. I was like, what are you coming out with this? I keep clicking. The app's not working. You're supposed to come out with a new version. And he's like, well, that's kind of, we're going to do it, but I just been making meme coins with AI, dude. I don't even have to write the code. It's been too easy. Just mention, but that was like just a mention. And then I was like, yeah, whatever, man. But blah, 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 blah. Eric would, and then that's been going on all around me, Lee, the industry. It's moved on to this other thing where number go up is taken over, but they're all rugs. They're 95% scams, and it's very short-sighted. I heard for you on something called, I'm going to call so many things out, called Katamoto. And Lee did the review on it too. It was like building this community, and they built a community of like 10, 20,000 people. And then there would be a launch pad to launch, meme coins.
So these 20,000 people who were all colluding on the idea that they ought to build an easy to launch scam coin platform. Was it like this sort of the idea?
Similar, yeah.
The 20,000, what you would call them co-conspirators if you were the federal government?
I don't know, but it was a community that wanted to make memes, come together, hang out, but make money. And I don't think that's wrong.
Oh, I know. If everyone's a co-conspirator, then why is there a crime still?
Yeah. So, but here's the deal: they launched a coin and rugged everybody at like $10,000 or something, And then they launched a meme coin. They've done like 5 or 6 and rugged each time. So they built this community. They did this cool thing. The actual platform was cool for the idea, and then they just used it as long as they could to bring people to offer small amounts of money. And I said, it's like they had a diamond or pearls and they threw them to the swine.
That was dumb.
I'd say
that's also kind of dumb that they quit, right?
That is probably the best description of most of crypto, though. I was like, I think that's, if anything, and you could say real quick, because I haven't answered this question yet.
I got the next point.
You could say that of all the projects, there have been definitely some that have, changed the world or made a difference. Whatever the term is, right? I mean, Bitcoin has, Litecoin has, there are various projects out there that have made a difference in some way,
right.
but
someone pays their livelihood with it. That's a difference.
The real question is whether we have lived up to the vision, and we've come nowhere fucking close to living up to the vision of what could have been done by now, and what will still happen.
Accurate description of all of human history, though, doesn't it? Maybe it's our lot to cope with our flaws.
But this is observably ridiculous. It's like, we live in clown world. Instead of improving it, let's make more clown shit.
Yeah,
that's what.
No, okay. This is my point, Joe. This is the point I want to make. I think that it was headed in the direction of mostly clown shit plus some amazing, technically groundbreaking, really revolutionary ideas in 2018. Then our lovely government stepped in and decided to try to regulate it. And the only thing they crushed were the things that weren't bullshit.
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's like if you want to see new revolutionary projects
come because the builders weren't there.
The opposite of the way to do it is to threaten people with lawsuits from the SEC.
The problem has been the regulators and the lawyers just wanting to make the money off what the regulators are doing. It's all a collusion of that entire class.
Boil it down even more. It's evil. It's immorals and it's honorless.
Yes,
that's the main thing, and that's what is in crypto. But I don't think. I think the bigger something I don't understand is just the short-sightedness. If you're building something and it goes to a $50,000 market cap in a day, and then you're like, "Hey man, we can rug and make $30,000." Why? Why don't you
Okay, so you can make it like a carnival sideshow scam with a handful of nails and a little bit of trickery, or you can build something amazing. But the problem is you regulate the
why
nail.
don't you take 5
So
and then let it build and take 5 in a month and then after 6 months you've got a giant juggernaut where you can take your chefs.
The reason they know all of their co-founders have as little honor as they do, and therefore it's a race.
It's a race. That's what it's about. So we want to we want to build a community, a launch pad with tenants. Anything that comes on or wants to launch has to. And I need to talk to you guys about that. I want to know how much it would be for y'all to check the contracts, make sure that things aren't, there's nothing snuck in there. Mm-hmm. But that, hey, if you want to launch, if you want to touch our community, you want access to it, your coin has to have these certain things. Top 10 wallets can't have more than 15%.
If you lay out,
I'm kind of opposed to that.
Well, here's the culture. What you could propose to people weighing in on?
I think let 1,000 flowers bloom, man. I don't think we ought to try to use our intelligence to gate access. Because we'll build the gate
I don't think he's saying that. I think he's saying rating it is like you evaluate it, and that's the way everything should be.
You're talking about evaluation. Okay.
I might call something a scam, and am I allowed to call it a scam? Sure. I called FTX a scam before everybody lost billions, right? It's obvious.
Yeah. Can I interject something here real quick?
And Gensler still calls it his favorite patsy instead of a scam.
Yeah, I know. So I
know. That we know that the coin market cap or the market cap is kind of erroneous way to measure the value of a crypto project, because no project can sell out everything at that particular price, and so therefore the coin the valuation is erroneous to think that. However, that is our best measurement tool at this moment. Hold on. So the total crypto world, all right, according to Coin Market Cap, is $2.23 trillion. $2.23 trillion. Now, having said that, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tether, the top 3, if we roll down here to Binance at top 4, we're talking what? 1.6 trillion or 1.7 trillion out of that 2.23 trillion. So it's still big numbers. To scam somebody for 30 grand is a big number, especially for some people in certain countries as well. However, I think sometimes we lose sight of, and it's unfortunate, but by all these giant scammers, we lose sight of there's still value here, even though maybe it's not $2.23 trillion worth of value. There's value, and they're actually stealing. These rug pools are stealing from good projects that are hunting for dollars or hunting for income or revenue generation to build.
And I'll say, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something?
But
I know real quick here. Wait a minute. There are so many people that made money off crypto in the old days, right? I've spent almost everything that I have on building out stuff since then, right? I made money on old Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin at $2. What did I do with it? I spent it making stuff, right? Building stuff. And you're right. When people make that money and then throw it into meme coins, when there are obviously legitimate projects out there that the regulation is too sketchy, and it's like, well, fucking put some money into it and figure it out and make it work. It's like we hadn't been able to raise money forever because of the SEC, right? So, I'm trying to figure out how to make that, make sense, but it's a lack of honor and or long-term focus, right? It's like, I could make a few million off some meme coins. It's like, okay, yeah, you could. What the hell are you doing in this world? Why are you here? Why are you here? It's not to make money off of meme coins, right? So whether or not, and it's funny, I don't fault anyone for making money, obviously, right? But the problem is, if you have money and you're doing that shit, you have no honor. So that's it. Right?
That's the thing. So there has to be honor and some morals brought back into it.
I need to squeeze my other piece in
on just being a community. Like you always said it. If people would have focused on what they should focus on, Bitcoin would be $100,000, $1 million.
It'd be over a million now.
It's short. Everyone is so short-sighted. When if that's what your goal is, you can't. If you focus on what's important,
the maximum
doing the right
concept
thing,
of farsightedness is to say, okay, consider this. How many people who created Bitcoin originally are badasses who ought to have lots of money? Like the original creators, the developers, the cypherpunks, the original writers of Bitcoin, the whatever team made up Satoshi.
I don't know if the dollar is the way to, it's like I don't
does
give a
the,
shit
does the
whether they're
world
rich
get
or
better
not,
if
right?
those kinds of people have more access to stored wealth?
If they, depending, I mean, some of them would invest it wisely. Some of them would invest it to build
Right.
things.
So is one good investment worth all the rest of the bad investments existing?
I don't know.
Can it be? Right? Like it does kind of matter, right? Look, the thing that I don't like about focusing on scams is because the biggest one is this right here, and I can't get.
We can't see.
It's the dollar.
Hang on, I'll get it right. 20. So I'm just going to read it to you. If in 2024 I purchased an item for $3.2 trillion, the entire market cap of all of crypto, then in 2017 that same item would cost 2.4978 odd numbers keep running trillion. That's a cumulative rate of inflation of 22%. The alternative to quote scams is a bigger scam, and I feel like there's a lot of.
Wait a minute, real quick. I have to call it out. You're talking the only alternative.
You guys got to spend a little bit of time, a fair amount of time, talking about all the downsides to scams. I'm trying to say the upside to looking the other way is let 1,000 flowers bloom. I think that there's an advantage.
That's not
saying
what we're
look
saying.
at the good, fuck the bad. They're going to be bad.
Not what we're saying. We're saying they should be
putting
those monies into things that are building something worthwhile that will increase the value of crypto. Right.
Right. And my point is that worthwhile is really subjective.
Yes, but it's a very easy thing to see. What does Dogecoin do?
You can build something better. If you have an idea, you're an inspirational dude who says that really was to me. I'm like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this short-sightedness. If you actually want to just make money and create a community to hang out with, then you do that, and the money takes care of itself. Yeah. Look at Doge. Look at Inu.
That's true.
If you
don't, I'm not saying any of these things aren't true. I'm just saying like we maybe do ourselves a disservice by focusing on our own downsides when we have an adversary that's a giant global institution that wants to murder all of us.
I don't think you focus. I think you call it out and fight it. Not
just like I have no problem saying something bad about Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum is a great network. They have a lot of great developers. But I think there's a lot of freaking at the very tops of Ethereum, there are a lot of freaking scammy people. Okay. And they should be called out.
But it doesn't super matter to building in the ecosystem, though.
That's not what I'm talking about, is it? I'm saying the fact that you can't even go and make a proposal in Reddit as we did 3 years ago to do something without getting lambasted by the Ethereum priests for the audacity to say something other than Ethereum could be used here, right?
Well, they peed all over the corners of Reddit.
What's that?
And I think
they pee all over the corners of Reddit.
I think the point you're both making is that whenever something bad happened, it's the community that was co-opted by a certain group. And that's my point, man. You keep the community cool and together and the focus, and you do it with some honor and morals, and you look out for each other.
Yep.
You don't just look out for yourself, and everything else takes care of itself. Gazoo made a good point, which is the only way I can get through to people when I talk about inflation, the dollar going down in value. He said that a burger used to cost like $1 and now it costs basically it's like $8, same price. When I tell people, when Henry Ford started the assembly line, an assembly line worker made like so much they were paid in gold.
Yep.
And they were paid enough to buy a car.
But if you look at how much they make today, it's like $62,000, which is how much a Simplify worker makes. So if you were paid in gold, there's no difference. But the dollar, like when they went to the dollar system, they made like, $800 a month.
Well, and automation's gotten so good since then, Sean. You almost have to jump in and say the worker individually has gotten more valuable from the standpoint of person hours because they have this amplifying automation that's so much better. So technically, really, that job ought to have gone up relative to inflation and what it's worth.
Yep.
Well, it's not the hour, it's not the rate that's broken, it's our money that's broken. Because Westwood and I talk about this when we do our meetups, that in 1964, 5 quarters, because they were all silver or mostly silver, was $1.25 was minimum wage. So minimum wage now is like almost $20 or whatever. And that is what, well, now silver's almost $30, but
like
an ounce or whatever.
All right.
Amazing how fast the number we denominated in goes down.
Yeah.
Next question. And by the way, it's hypocritical for crypto to still, in 2024, to still be pricing Bitcoin in dollar. It's the dumbest goddamn thing in the world. We hate dollars. Just like, how much is Bitcoin worth today? How much is it worth today, huh?
For the interest of time, just read the question, Joe.
Okay. Do you think that someday humanity will embrace this concept that money will no longer be under the control of governments? This takes blockchain to the next level, and some say was Bitcoin's end game goal. This is the exact opposite of CBDCs. Let's see here. How do we want to start? Let's Greg first. Greg.
Okay, I think they already technically embrace this concept. They just don't know don't know whether or not it's as taboo as the elite ruling class seems to make them want to think. Right? Like, if people said what they truly think about money, then the idea that what's in my pocket is mine and nobody else's. And not only do I have exclusive control over it, but you don't really have a right to see what I do with it or, know where I keep it or any of that. Like what I did to make it. Like, you don't have a right to that because money is a kind of measure of human action that is beyond your purview as the state because of the Constitution, because of your right to pursue happiness and all the things that go with it.
Yep. Okay. I am.
Well, I think the cat is let out of the bag, or the horses have ran out of the barn, because the concept and the idea now has been that seed has been planted, that money does not have to be created and under the control of a central bank or a government. The money could be code. It could be, a fixed inflation rate, and it can be coded such a way that it's on a blockchain, and either it could be private or not private, semi-private, whatever you want to call it. But it also, more importantly, can be tracked and traced in when I say by tracked and traced, I mean that it can't have a derivative and hypothecated, like silver contracts. Oh, there's less silver than there are silver contracts.
Right. You're saying you can't use fractional reserve to expand the supply.
Right. So that concept, that idea, is now a seed that has been planted, and it's for all of us to germinate that seed. Because if government can control the money, they can control us, and it doesn't have to be that way anymore. And that's kind of my hope. I probably won't see it in my lifetime. And in future generations, the idea and concept of money that Lisa always talks about is different. It will be different. Maybe it'll be in the form of education credits, how much knowledge and trivia knowledge you might have, and how you can apply it. And that would be your income, rather than any kind of dollar or peso or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
So that would be my answer. I think that the horses are out of the barn, they're running, and it's now up to us to allow them to run free and develop some form of programmable money that's not in the hands of government.
Yeah. Okay. Sean, what do you think about this?
I think it's an interesting question, and I agree with some parts of what I am said. I think that people are broken. I think so much it's just basic good versus bad. It's just basic evil versus good. I think people have lost the spark to know what they could do on their own. The question is that even legal, or it's like,
is that even legal?
Like,
Good one.
yeah, what they think only the government could do this, only this could do this.
Yep.
I mean, how, to me, it's not that weird to think, hey man, I wanted to be able to defend my home, and I could go online, or I get a book, and I could find out how to make a zip gun for 22 from the hardware store. Even go buy the ammo from the hardware store, and I have a way to defend my home, defend myself, and I did it for like $5, and that's like not legal to just make a weapon. But if you look at things like in China or other countries, they have like slingshots and all these other, and they sell them as forms of defense. To where it's a stick, or
like in England, you get a spoon, I think.
It's a hammer. It's not a joke.
It's like someone invented the automatic nanofabricator, and the authorities are putting off letting it come into existence because you might make guns with it.
Sean, what you're saying, Sean, is that government cannot coin money anymore, because just like weapons, we can coin our own weapon. We can coin our own money.
Because people, and I think it's our generation that's pretty broken. I think a younger generation, I don't think it's the crypto bros. No, dude, let me tell you about blockchain. No, but NFTs. Like the joke, those people, as they grow up, and it's gonna keep going. I think just like they did with evil, they went after the kids first, and now we're here. I think that eventually, in the next maybe like you said, maybe not in our lifetime, but I do think that we're gonna get to a place where people will be like, we don't need this evil organization. But every mafia that's existed.
A guy with a gun is not necessary here. People are doing this voluntarily.
There was a time where you paid protection and you actually got protection.
Yep.
And then laws, police, and honest governments came around, and you didn't need the mafia, but they didn't want to give up that income.
Right, bootleggers. We're out of business.
Did you have an answer?
But
I do have an answer.
What's your answer?
So this is something that I'm pretty passionate about, because I believe any form of money makes us a slave. And so we don't need money, but we have to, because it counterfeits human energy. And so I believe it's even a form. And if you then have a third party involved, that's a form of human trafficking, if you want to really get into it, because you're trafficking human energy, and because they have power and control over a human, and we can't give our power away through money. And so until we are using blockchain, using the technology that does exist, and patents that a friend of mine has, where we can exchange peer-to-peer, where we hold our energy and our power in our possession until we want to exchange peer-to-peer with each other, then we can be free, because then we can hold our own energy. We don't need money. We don't need this intermediary that creates human trafficking and slavery and corruption all over the world.
Well, it makes you wonder if forms. And so my answer would be, I think so. I think that the current system is going to collapse, and the only question is whether they're going to be able to trick most humans into taking the CBDC and enslaving themselves further than they already are. But we're already all enslaved. So Bitcoin and this technology can offer multiple solutions to that. There's multiple ways to break your chains. Whether people will do that or not, who knows? But we've been trained to love our slavery. It's like, oh, I'm going to watch Netflix. I'm going to freaking watch football. I have McDonald's. What else do I care about, right? That's
Right.
what they
It's
want.
the default condition problem, right? Like
Yeah.
the fallacy of the default. Everybody sticks with it.
Yeah, and it's hard to.
That's my.
Go mess with your settings in your phone right now. I dare you.
You're making my point with what I was saying.
Totally.
If enough people believe that if it collapses, that the only thing that makes money is the government.
Well, but
basically the only real value is violence.
Right.
and people will get to a point, and they will do things like the agorism movement
And
takes over, like the Target thing, the Budweiser thing. I mean, and they will choose other things, and that's the kind of thing where Bitcoin is.
For me, I'm always going to want
alternative.
money. You know, like I'm always going to want money to exist because I think price signals are an important part of like organization at scale without force. But
yes,
but I understand the point. But I understand the point. It shouldn't be a mechanism that you know, that siphons off your energy by inflation or by whatever means, by tax, and it shouldn't be built to allow people who aren't building something to take the rewards from you without asking nicely.
And you can look at
potentially paying some of their own money.
I'm sorry, keep interrupting. You can look at historical events related to the golden age of X, you know, whichever country, Spain, England, any of these countries. You look at their golden age and you look at what preceded and what became, and a lot of the times it's because of the ending of usury, the ending of various banker programs, various monetary policies, and way things work. And you look at what happened in multiple places in history preceding a golden age. It's usually something related to bankers. Sometimes it's exploration, but there's a banker component to it. Anyway.
Centrally planned banking, right? Like this isn't just individuals with wealth getting together and saying, "Hey, let's do this."
I'm not against.
This is like people pointing guns at their tax base so they can build a pool to do it.
Right. Okay. Next question. We'll try to do this quick because we have 3 minutes before. Count it down. 3 minutes before current events. Forget for the moment that Bitcoin has been hijacked, and Bitcoin's original purpose of being peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Sounds so old world, doesn't it?
Did Satoshi out and doing okay?
Yes. At least some good news in the world, right? And Assange, right? Did Satoshi create digital gold with Bitcoin? And has this solved a real world problem? Note, I'm defining the problem as the hassle and problems related to moving physical gold around the world, right? So, did this solve a real world problem, and did he create that? Who wants to go first?
Hell yes,
I want to say one thing because I have a devil's advocate kind of thing.
Okay.
People would argue, especially gold bugs, that the only real money is gold. It's God's money. It was the first money. So by trying to create digital cash or digital money, isn't it then fair to say it would become gold?
So I have something for that, but Greg is itching. He's champing at the bit.
Sorry, can you pull the question back up? I gotta reread it because that was such a shattering comment, Sean. That was a really brilliant thing to say. Let's see. Digital gold. Okay, yeah, of course it solved a real world problem, right? If it didn't solve a real world problem, nobody would be buying it.
They wouldn't have tried to hijack it.
Right. Well, I mean, and I don't think they solved the problem in one fell swoop. I think that's a silly idea. I think that's a maximalist idea.
Yeah.
The idea is that they started an open source movement and they showed that this kind of architecture was possible. Nobody uses the very, very first computing architecture they created for UNIVAC, but now we have one, right, for this type of computing. And that's what I would say.
That's cool. I like it. I am for him.
The thought came to me while we were just talking right now was, when you're traveling and you're going overseas or you're going into another country and you pass through customs, the idea of having a bunch of gold jewelry and gold bars in your luggage or silver or whatever precious metal you have, they're going to say, hey, what do you have to declare? And, the crypto world allows you to go through that line and say, I have nothing to declare because it's not on me physically. So yes, to answer the question, certainly, did Satoshi create digital gold, and can we circumvent that system or borders? Absolutely. Is it easier to move around the world? Absolutely, without question. Does that mean that gold has now less value, or silver, or whatever other precious metal? I would say no. I think they kind of work in conjunction with each other. And to fight the whole CBDC thing, I think Aaron Day has got it right. We have to come up with tokenization of precious metals in some form or another. We have to come up with kind of the triad of the crypto space and tokenization, as well as hard money or precious metal. And I think
what we really need, man, is a hard link between the real world and the digital.
Right.
Yeah, like tokenize everything.
Right. So
if we had the ability to focus on that and not deal with the government and everything else, that question is that's a doable thing.
Yeah, it is. And so that's huge. And so it only answers the first question as well. What problem did it solve? It solved being able to move large amounts of money or cash around the world and without a third party, sending from one wallet to another address, a large amount of money. It didn't have to go through any kind of central house clearing.
My answer.
Well, let me say something real quick, because I've been chomping at the bit myself. Greg Gazoo made a comment, and I wanted to say something about it. And now that I Am said that, it's too much. I have to say something. So the world of Star Trek, when you talk to a Trekker and you bring up the fact that it's socialism, it's basically everything provided for you. That's not true, because first, in order to have that world, you have to create a world of that scarcity no longer exists.
Possibly impossible.
And one of the reasons for that is replicators can make anything. They can take, it's just.
But human capacity to want more can grow faster than that. Is sort of the point.
And anything out of Hollywood.
I am said something about moving money. I can go from one place to another and leave my wealth somewhere and transport it.
Can I tell you something?
Which is pretty much what you're doing.
Scarcity will only stop mattering if every human can stop wanting more.
I have a comment on that. Isn't it an odd thing? I always thought this was one of the weirdest things. Okay, like sci-fi predicted mobile phones. Sci-fi predicted flying cars. I'm joking. Sci-fi predicted all these things, that some of which haven't happened yet, some of which have happened. Sci-fi didn't even really predict the internet, let alone Bitcoin, right? I mean, there were some things. That's an interesting point, and I would tell you,
I can show you a man who hasn't read Dan Simmons.
Anything coming out of Hollywood is, it's like whatever. But anyway, this again, I tend to see the negative, because you have to see the problem to try to figure out the solution, and it is frustrating knowing that he created digital cash, which had some very interesting features that resembled or overlapped gold or other precious metals. That there's some the supply of Bitcoin and the algorithmic supply is superior to precious metals, because you can't predict supply changes with precious metals. You can't predict an asteroid. You can't predict some big you can't predict, like what happened in Europe. I say this all the time. When the Spanish galleons brought back all that gold from the New World, it crashed the markets in Europe because there was so much there, right? I don't know. It's interesting, and so it is a sad thing, in my opinion, that it is now digital gold. I mean, yes, it's still useful. It's a positive thing to the world, but good God, what we could have had if we would have just been a little wiser and had a little more honor collectively. I can't say, I don't think anybody on here would have done if it was the five of us voting on what happens, right? But it's just disgusting. So whatever. So that is the last question. We are past the hour mark, so I'm going to kick off because I have a real quick clip here.
Did Lisa answer?
What's that?
Did Lisa answer?
Did she?
I think it's all pretty clear. Yes. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. I'm a horrible. We need John back.
Fine.
We need to extract John
We're
from
all
the tunnels.
good. It's all good.
I feel bad now.
No, it's good.
I have a little clip though of let's see here, and I'll throw. So that was the last question. I have a little clip here.
Hey, it's not how big it is; it's how you use it. Don't worry.
Okay. Here's a little. Wait, I have to wait for this to cycle. Wait a minute. Damn it. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's all good.
Here it is. A little clip of the debate that just happened.
Oh yeah, Penn Ready, SEC follower.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, there are hints here, but yeah, if you who watched the debate?
I watched the whole debate.
I couldn't bring myself to.
Pieces.
Oh, I watched the whole thing. It really wasn't that bad.
I was completely duped. I was happy and I thought, wow, things are turning around. All right. I thought the questions were real. They weren't like patting him for one person and not the other. I was like, I immediately called, because if something's good, I call it out.
I heard they were fair because they wanted to get Biden out. But
yes, afterwards.
I will say the clip that I saw.
I went on social media. I'm like, wow, kudos to CNN. You know, you can call them out when they do bad stuff, but when people do something right, you should tell them they're doing real questions. They're being respectful to everyone. This is all right. Great job.
How about the
second it was over? The second it was over, they had a panel of CNN people, and the first guy was like, wow, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. Joe Biden was terrible. I thought he was on par or better than I was expecting. I didn't think he was going to be great. I thought he was going to be Joe Biden. I thought he would maybe walk out from behind the podium. Maybe look. I thought there'd be worse.
I'll tell you what.
World
War III obviously on the horizon, and I mean I see a clip of the only two presidents. They didn't even let RFK up there. The only two presidential candidates that they let in front of us, and they are arguing about one lying about his height and the other lying about his fucking golf handicap. And that is the clown world that we live in.
So 2 quick points here.
Disgusting.
One, they literally are not telling us who's running the fucking country right now. We have no idea who's in charge of it.
I think
there
you
literally
can look at
is no answer. But if you want to know who's in charge, it's whoever has the most influence over the official duties of moving Joe Biden's left hand. Right.
But there's two interesting things on that, Greg. One,
second point.
Everyone is now asking that question. Hey, who is running the government? And they brought up, which we talked about on the phone. This isn't the first time.
Second point.
The president who had a
they're still running him.
Ran things for a year and a half,
and have started floating the argument that the deep state will be running it anyway, so he's better than Trump.
Okay, I'm gonna say everyone that watched this debate and the whole outcome about Joe being unfit for duty, it was all a giant psyop. There was never a debate in June. One, Biden is set up for the fall because they know he can't beat Trump if Trump is anti.
They're getting together and doing a letter right now.
So now it was like a setup. And then we had the big media telling us, oh my gosh, I didn't know Joe was this bad, when in fact they did. They're lying to you. It's again the Intel superstate controlling the big media. It was all a setup to oust Joe because they knew Joe couldn't win. But so that way they could have an open convention and bring somebody else in, because Jill doesn't want to give up the power. So Jill is the manipulator of Joe, but Jill is not controlling the government. She's only controlling Joe.
So what you're saying is instead of half a bottle of Adderall and a snort of cocaine, they give him some sugar and some sugar pills this time, and
it didn't kick in fast enough.
You got to see the man without the amphetamines.
Internally, his own family was upset that he was going to run for president because they already knew he had dementia before 2020. So, it's just insane that the people were duped, that the man wasn't capable of debating, much less running a country. It's just, to be honest with you, it pisses me off because everyone is getting played by the deep state. By the Intel super.
One thing that's really interesting, as usual, is what's not being said, what's not being asked. 2 weeks ago, that one dude on CNN said, not only is Biden sharp as a tack, but this is the sharpest he's ever been. Now, if
I believe them when they say that. I do believe them when they say that.
That's a side. If I'm the Republicans, if I'm if I'm fighting the good fight against these bad people, I would be screaming from the rooftops, you can't trust any of these people. We've been saying this
and then why is he not competent to stand trial against?
Now all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh my goodness, look! So why should you believe anything that they say when we've been saying this the whole time? You know, why not? Maybe you should trust us on other things that we say. Maybe you should trust us on space lasers or what? You know what I mean? All of a sudden they should take the credibility, and they're not. So I think that really proves they're all together.
Yeah, it's all one thing.
Well,
all one party.
Well, right. Get an open convention fixes their Kamala problem, right?
It does. It's true.
So, you know, again, it was all played. It was all planned. And
but it was also,
Lisa, you saw the whole debate. What was your thought?
So it was also all played and planned. It was on CNN, which the libtards will watch. It was calm. Trump was calm. It was it was things that said that the libtards would never listen to. They saw themselves that Joe's declining. They saw themselves that CNN was very fair. They saw it. I think it was getting the normies to see what's really playing out. I think it was part of the movie, the show.
Think they burned him just to get media credibility back?
We're getting, well, not to get media credibility back, but we're getting to the end of the movie, and they've got to wrap this shit up really quick. Like, we only have a couple of months, and we still have to have the constitutional education of America in a few more subjects. We're getting to the final, you know, it's the end of the semester.
That's a good point, Greg.
They've got to get rid of Joe. They've got to bring Kamala in and teach everybody about the fact that she's an anchor baby and that she's not eligible to be president. And so we're going to go through that. And then we'll go through, then they'll have their three in, probably in Gruesome Newsom and whatever. I don't know who they're going to bring up. But then that, because of the immunity stuff that just got passed, the narrative, the media narrative, they have twisted, of course, what the Supreme Court actually passed. They said that when you're in official capacity, yes, you have immunity. And when you are acting outside of official capacity, you do not. And that's the part that they're leaving out, is that when Hillary comes up, when they to say, oh, our new candidate is Hillary and Gruesome Newsom or whoever they choose, that will put her in the forefront. That's what they've done. Trump has done this over and over. He's left these people standing in the front to show themselves, to be exposed, left them. It wasn't like, oh, well, why didn't he fire all these bad people? He's left Fauci up front. He's left Dr. Burke up front. He's left all these people, Mike Pompeo, all these people have been left up front to do what they're going to do. Liz Cheney, all these. And so Hillary's going to be brought back up, and we're going to hear about Benghazi. We're going to hear about Obama and Iran. I think we're going to hear about all of it. And hey, guess what? There were things you did in official capacity, but there were things that went in your pocket that were not in official capacity that you do not have immunity for. And guess who else doesn't? Obama, the Bushes. I think it's all going to.
And I think there's like a nonpartisan question we can ask and answer really easily here too, that really gets at the core values. Like, think about this question. Do you want a power given to a partisan opponent of yours, someone who has an opposite vision of the country than you do? Do you want them to have the power to fuck with your life, or do you not? And what this really boils down to is, do we want to engage in the kind of political gamesmanship where somebody is out for a term but intends to stay in politics, is suddenly a target of state enforcement mechanisms, ginned up as these kinds of charges? That's why this immunity is helpful for the the process to coexist with real life, right? And the funny thing to me is that the people who are seemingly the loudest about wanting to defend democracy are really kind of grinding at the gears of its most important machinery when they go at this system. This immunity system needed to stay in place and uncontroversial, honestly, in my opinion.
Not in Texas. You can't in Texas anymore.
I want to play something if you guys don't mind. This was interesting to me, and I mean, I think it's an okay thing to show this. It's hopefully you can hear the. If you can't hear the audio, let me know because I'll hear it. But
I think popular entertainment is always a commentary. It's always a commentary and a critique and an expression of the society, of how the society feels, and what the culture is experiencing to one extent or another. I mean, I think that all of those post-apocalyptic movies, the zombie movies, the alien invasion movies, all of these things, the Quiet Place movies, the End of Us, Leave the World Behind, all of those types of films. I think all of these movies arise from the collective cultural subconscious of America and reflects their realization that, in fact, America is in post-apocalypse. America is a memory. It's nostalgia for a bygone period of history that almost no American living today ever actually experienced. And this is the appeal of Make America Great Again. I mean, you can't fail to detect the post-apocalyptic sentiment or the post-apocalyptic realization that's the subtext for that slogan, for that political motto, for that chant. Because you know that everything that the United States conceived itself as, the image that it curated and broadcast around the world, say in the 1950s and early 1960s, that world is gone. It exists only in the cultural memory, while the world that you're living in, that you're actually living in, is a hellish landscape of moral chaos, violence, tyrannical surveillance, and authoritarian hubris. The authoritarian hubris of the state that's arbitrarily restricting your every move, your every word, your every thought, while you exist in financial instability and employment drudgery, under crushing debt and taxes and bills, with no purpose, no dignity, no meaning, no respect, and with only a few hours here and there to sort of unplug yourself from reality and inject yourself with the anesthesia of entertainment, day in, day out until you die. The bright, sunny world of happy America. It's just like a story being told by a survivor of Armageddon to his kids, about when there used to be birds in the trees and there was running water and cookouts in the backyard and so on, while they, meanwhile, are just trudging through the rubble of a city demolished by a nuclear holocaust. That's why they have those movies, because they're realizing, even if unconsciously, that they're living in the aftermath. Americans today are living in the aftermath. And Make America Great Again, that's magical thinking. It's the ultimate example of the denial phase of mourning and grief. You're pretending that you can raise the dead.
Yeah, we can totally fucking raise the. Okay,
you have hurt me, but watching.
He's right. He's right in a sense, but he's also wrong in a sense because guess what? This is the land of magic, man. We built computers that go in your pocket.
You could say the
connect
world
you to the internet no matter where you are, dude.
Fuck that. I've built startups in this
country.
Having been grown up, my father telling me, he's like, you need to find the problem so you can find the solution. Yeah. That's how you become wealthy. That's how you become rich in this country, this land of opportunity. Guess what? Fucking lies. All of it. It's all fucking lies. Why? That's my blood. I'll open my blood up right now and show you that I have American blood. And guess what? The fuckers that run this country do not want people with my blood to be wealthy. They don't want me to be able to create anything. I'm not allowed. I am cattle. I am not allowed to do great things in this fucking shithole country. You want to talk about shitholes around the world? I'd say this is a shithole. We are fucking cucked by Israel. They fucking control every goddamn one of our elected representatives, state, local, fucking federal, and the bankers, fucking Hollywood. You can't make it in Hollywood. You can't make it in a financial world. I couldn't make it on Wall Street if I fucking tried because I am a fucking normal Midwestern American. I'd be laughed at. It's like, you're not allowed, Joe. It doesn't matter what the
they gatekeep their little fucking society. That's true. But we're building a better one.
Them. And they are what define this fucking country. So the rest of the world, our country is the GIs, the military that comes in and fucking kills people and or the military industrial complex that gives money for Israel to kill people or for the Ukrainians to go, whatever, doesn't matter. But it's just freaking disgusting, right? So,
well, right now the world sees us as the imprisoners of Julian Assange, is what they see us as mostly in the world, because it's the most recent international story.
I love this one.
Gain headlines.
I love this meme. You know, Joe, I think that you're right, and it hurts me that explanation was a profound thing, because you know I tell my kids stuff, you know, and it's like, you know what, when I was in high school we had a smoking area, and like, well, it wasn't for, you know, football players. If we like were out there, we would get in trouble in the speech, but just so many things are, you know, in my day, it is like one of my favorite movies, critically hated. I don't know if you've all seen it, is The Postman.
Yeah. I love that movie, actually. Are you kidding?
It's an amazing movie, and it was critically, you know, trashed. But it's after a plague. World's terrible, but it's very realistic. And Kevin Costner, well, this is actually kind of weird, because I was thinking about the post office and the attack on it. Kevin Costner finds a dead, you know, a crashed mail truck, dead postman. It's freezing, so he takes the wool thing, you know, clothes off the skeleton, puts it on, and then he takes the mail, and he gets to this walled town, and he goes, "I'm the postman. The government's trying to get started again. We got the mail going." And then they're like, "Yeah, sure, we're gonna kill you. Go away." And then he takes a letter out, and it's like, "Got a letter for Sally Johnson." And it's like old woman's like, "I'm Sally Johnson," and he gives her the letter that was from, you know, like 20 years ago, and it's about like the beginning of the plague and everything, and then everybody starts to think, "Oh man, things are getting better." And he goes, "Yeah, there's a president and there's a government, and that's the slogan for the country is things are getting better." And then it starts to sweep across. Everyone gets positive and starts to interact with each other, and well, it's a great movie. You should watch it.
My comments, because maybe I'm probably the oldest one on the panel. So
I'm 72.
Nice.
You're 72?
Yeah.
No way, really?
No,
Yeah.
you're lying to
Nah,
me.
you gotta be lying. Well, anyway.
Someone's supposed to say that.
Yeah. So my
one of the
point, I
Unidyne.
guess, from his, like you said, Sean, it was profound. It was eloquent in the way he described post, pre-decline of America, and we've all suffered I think that the various degrees, the grief of seeing what America was and what America is today. And it's hard, because you drift between anger, and I could sure feel Joe's anger, and you can drift between the sadness of loss and the loss of the idea, the concept of what America is or was, and it certainly was from my perspective, because I was fortunate to have had a good childhood. It wasn't without a lot of trial and tribulation, but I had a good childhood. I had excellent parents with a great upbringing. But I lost my father when I was younger. So and watched him become debilitated. Well, those feelings of watching, a loved one, a parent, slowly pass is exactly what I've seen happen to America. And it hurts. And it creates anger, because it didn't have to be this way. And that's why I now consider myself an agorist. I want to use counter economics to fuck them over, because they fucked us over.
I am. You said something really profound that kind of hit me, and made me have a moment of clarity. One, this isn't it, but your good childhood, if you explained it to people nowadays, would say, "Oh, that's terrible." You were spanked. You were
internet.
You were alone for hours. and you didn't have a helicopter period, but
You can have a really great childhood without having any micromanagement.
Our kids and these younger generation, they're fucked up worse than any other generation. They're on more depression shit than any other generation. They have anxiety and a hard time dealing with anything. And we can make jokes about safe spaces and blah 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 because we don't know,
guys. Someone needs to look into grading portals because parents can access their kids' grades way too easy now.
We know how it was. We know how it was, and we think we could have that again one day. It could go back. It's a possibility, but anyone 35 and younger, maybe even 40, they never had it, so they don't know it's even possible.
Well, and I do think Sean, we need to not look back too. We need to look forward because there's so much that can be done. But you have to be able to name the enemy. You have to be able to name what the hell's going wrong, or else you're never going to get there, right?
But it goes back to what I was said earlier, that people have been taught to not. It's like not even a thought anymore. The fact that you could make something to defend yourself, the fact that you could fix something in your house without asking the government for permission and paying them. The fact that you could go get.
I just have to interject something here, guys,
without getting permission from when paying a fee. You know,
guys,
they have no concept.
So, has anybody read anything at all about the prospect that youth suicide coincided the spike in suicide we see in the youth today coincided with with regular parent access to grading portals, such that they could get real-time information on their kids every day and micromanage the fucking shit out of them?
Well, I will tell you, there's
how I'm doing on this test has been the major cause of suicide for teens forever. Right? Like,
I thought that had more to do with the fact that they were isolated.
That's what has been said, but nobody has researched this particular parallel cause. The grading portal stuff became really available in 2011 to 2012.
That's an interesting, probably correlates there, but there is a huge correlation.
You've been blaming Instagram, man.
Media talking about suicide. Everybody knows that. I mean, how do I say it? Everybody knows it's a fairly well correlated that media talking about suicide increases the suicide rate. And Netflix puts out that was it 13 Reasons Why or whatever it was. That's why they did it. They wanted to boost the freaking numbers. And they know that because they even say that plane crashes increase after large reports of a suicide, and the thing is because pilots will commit suicide. It's really bizarre, but it's a true thing, and they know that it happens with teens. So it's pretty evil.
Oh yeah. No, I've seen no research on it, and I can't find any. I was wondering if anybody knows of it. If anyone shares that in the,
bet you're right. I'll bet it's spot on. That's probably a huge,
interesting
factor.
And it would be typical that they would blame like the free communication channels that kids still have as the cause, while they're also strangling them to death from the underside.
The same way, I can't remember which one it was. One of the several flag shootings that happen in the U.S. every year, right? One of them, the dude posted his whole his whole reasoning and his manifesto on Instagram, I believe, Facebook owned Instagram, and someone took it and put it on Infinity Chan, and Infinity Chan got taken out by internet infrastructure companies. Essentially, Infinity Chan went away. And the stated purpose or the reason that they took it away is because he posted this there and it's dangerous. And it's like he posted it on Instagram first.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't take it over, just poison the DNS and point to a site that wasn't that they controlled.
Well, that's the first thing they did.
It would be more like the modern age.
Cloudflare and DNS stuff. They basically colluded to take it out. And it's like, this is the freaking internet, right? I have one more thing to play that's kind of an interesting.
I'd like to give a comment on this. The little video that we just watched that everybody was discussing that I didn't get 2 words in. So a kind of a combination of, what I was saying and what Sean was saying. So I have like an antique thrift business and I sell stuff on eBay and I have a little store in Greenwood, Arkansas and all this. And there is this trend right now of people seeking like Americana items, saddle shoes, diner stuff, like with the chrome and the little red patent stuff, and that 50s era there's a trend for that. And it's a lot of the younger kids. They went from MCM, like mid-century modern kind of stuff, that they're still interested in that, but there's this newer trend kind of inching in where it's this 50s bobby socks, saddle shoes, the whole bit. And it's really interesting to watch. And I think because it is that time of innocence, home, the good life, the American dream that people are wanting. And maybe that's that little bit of hope, like the postman. Maybe that's all people need, is that, we are seeing the bad, like Joe's dad taught him. You have to know what the problem is, and then you have to build a solution. Well, maybe they're looking at the old solution, or the ideals that they were taught about the old solution, but we've got to use the new tools that were brought forward with blockchain and those kind of things. So I think we will go into kind of a cypherpunk 50s diner cypherpunk,
the retro futurists.
Get it right. Yeah.
The designers over at Cyberpunk 2077 called it.
What did they call it?
Retrofuturism.
Retrofuturism. I could see that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm actually seeing it in real life, kind of this trend.
It's like the 50s was all about like streamlining and being of the future and kind of looking way forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did these designs. Like this one, you saw streamlining a lot on the trains and the cars too. That was a futurist design.
I'm going to play a little video. Then I have a question for each of you. And it'll be a very simple question, like almost a one-word answer, okay? But we'll have enough time to do this. So, and this is, by the way, when this came up, it's really an interesting thing that I'm discovering really great new music that is being pushed into memes. That I was like, what is that song? And I find out what the song is, and like I become. So this is St. Paul and the Broken Bones. You guys know who that is? Freaking amazing band. They have this anyway. But this is a meme. I don't think they have anything to do with this meme. And here, I'll play this. So
we just crumbling like home.
I've heard this.
This beautiful album.
We won't get a strike, will we?
Who knows? I don't care. Whatever. We don't advertise, right?
Joe's like, I don't.
Nobody's paying us, so whatever. It's just an interesting sequence.
We just crumbling like gold in a sea of in a sea of we just crumbling like gold. We just crumbling like gold in a sea of in a sea of
So my question is, and I have to stop it here because I can still hear it. So that is super interesting because it starts in 1990, right? And it shows how crazy shit has become in 34 years, right? So it's like I was an adult in 1990. I was still in college, right? And like what that guy said before, I think I grew up in that America that was still, really interesting. I still tell my kids, it's like, oh, that didn't even exist when I was a kid, right? These things, mac and cheese. You couldn't buy mac and cheese in a box. You had to freaking buy elbow macaroni and get some cheese, right? So, stuff like that. And so I'm going to ask you a core part of that video, that meme. And Greg is back. Greg's back just in time. A core part of that is 9/11. Is like a lot of people think of it as a sea change, right? It's a huge change, cultural, historical. Another would be JFK. Another, before that, before such things were really kind of thought of, would have been like the Federal Reserve and the IRS being the most evil year, right? 1913, right?
Another
So,
time would be like that time they made a virus and then it got out and then they
yeah,
locked everybody in their homes over it.
But now they're every month, right? So these events happen every month. So who did 9/11? I am for I am. Who did 9? Who's responsible?
I am for AM did 9.
I'm asking him.
Not I am.
It's his turn, and nobody else say anything, so we can make sure. And I don't skip Lisa this time because she doesn't just step in there and just.
I know.
Say,
I need to stand up for myself.
So
My answer is the mafia cartel state, which is defined by just about every government around the world, had some form, either minute, micro, or large part in that.
okay, all right, Lisa.
It's my understanding that the CIA / which is run by what I understand to be the Mossad deep state, and it was partially a blood sacrifice, partially to remove the metals or gold that is underneath the Twin Towers, which Giuliani was a part of quickly sending over to China.
Crazy.
Dude, somebody ought to make a movie out of that. I think that that 9/11 was mostly the Saudis, probably because that's where most of the money came from. That said, I do think that there was some contribution from our overall Middle East policy that created Osama bin Laden, for instance, by trying to fight a proxy war in Afghanistan against the Soviets. And I think our side was Iraq and their side was Iran, but everybody moved into Afghanistan. And, and we trained up the Mujahideen, which is what Osama was from, to do that, right? Like literally he was our dude until he wasn't our dude. And he was sick of seeing a lot of people who got into that business.
He's always been our dude.
It was mostly just him saying like, you know what, I'm going rogue. I'm sick of you guys. This is my middle finger to you. Thanks for the education.
It was actually bin Laden and it was the Saudis. Okay. Sean, what is your answer?
As time goes on, I think it's bigger and bigger. I think it's more and more people. I think it's yes, the Mossad were involved. I think it's interesting, and I don't know why none of y'all have made this. The Saudis have really screwed us in the past few months with BRICS, with China, they've really given the middle finger to the United States, and all of a sudden, information's coming out about them maybe a bit more involved with 9/11 than people thought. I think that's to put them back in their place.
How convenient that now they're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And they let them all go back home when it's like, oh, but now all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. You're hurting our dollar. You're not going to make everyone buy oil.
Everybody's answered. I'm going to answer.
I got to change my answer.
So I think it was all the evil people. I think it was like this episode of The Simpsons. It was so many people. It's like, hey, things are getting a little bit out of hand. Things are getting a little bit too nice. Things are getting a little bit. We could. And this is the thing, man. I think what will, and me at least disagree on this, which is a little weird.
It's supposed to be a short answer, Sean.
No, it's me. I think that what will make everybody, Joe Schmo, everyone on this panel, pick up a gun and go and do bad stuff. If Big Pharma, the truth comes out about it. And they say, and people actually know.
The truth is already out, and people are still lining up at Walgreens.
When CNN does their thing, like they've done, when they know blood's coming, and they're like, there was 3 cures for cancer, and your grandpa didn't have to die, and your mom didn't have to die, your wife didn't have to die. That is something that touches people enough to piss them off. Well, they're do something.
I got to change my answer, Joe. Please, let me change my answer.
Something that so many
not
people,
done yet.
So many people have said, if you're in the 2A community, it's like, oh yeah, right after 9/11, I joined the military. So many people
Yeah.
that was like a
That is
changing thing.
That's a secondary blood sacrifice. We're gonna
I
kill off
really-
any of the loyal Americans. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, William.
Okay, my answers changed. I believe in the Warren Commission, and I also believe that the 9/11 Commission was factual and accurate.
Magic Bullet and the Magic Passport were both true things.
Wow.
No, I will tell you, I grew up. I was a loyal and patriot American. I was
You're a federal officer
extreme
pointing a gun at you right
conservative,
now.
right? What's that?
Sorry, I didn't know if there was somebody off frame in IAM's place, like pointing a gun at me.
Oh, sorry. No, okay. Until October 7th happened, I had never really paid much attention to this stuff, right? I'm on 4chan a lot, so I would see it, but it's like, I'm not going to save those memes because Google's going to put me on a list because my phone will pick it up and put it into Google Photos, right? Forget that now. It's like I had no freaking clue about the Dimona reactor, about AIPAC with JFK, right, preceding his assassination.
Yeah,
I had no
didn't know
freaking
about that
clue about Sirhan and the details surrounding. I had no. Look up Zapruder. Look up freaking Zapruder from the Zapruder film. He was the 1960s equivalent of the dancing Israelis. He knew that JFK was going to be assassinated, so he had his freaking 8mm camera rolling because he knew it was happening. And look at who he is. Because you won't see it. Look who Jack Ruby is. The main press. I grew up, it's like, oh, Jack Ruby is an Italian mafia. Nope. He wasn't an Italian mafioso. Okay, look that shit up. And then look at 9/11. And you look at the dancing Israelis. They knew it was happening before it happened. You look at the French and look at their backgrounds. Look at the French dudes that sold the they were creating a documentary. They were documentary filmmakers, and I think they were brothers. And what were they doing? The only known video of the first hit on the World Trade Center. You look at this documentary that I think it was sold to NBC. They were literally filming a documentary on New York firefighters. So it's like, oh, this is the perfect dramatic moment. The firefighters, and we've been, following through what's it like to be a firefighter. It's always this super interesting, I guess, to be a firefighter in New York. It's like, and they happened to, it was like, oh, look, there's a plane hitting the building. Oh my God. And now we have this footage that nobody else has. Holy shit. And you don't think 9/11 was done by the Israelis so that we would spend trillions in freaking 20 years of war plus, and to have all of this shit happen, it's obvious when you step back and look at it. And yes, the FBI was involved, and yes, the CIA is controlled, and yes, our government are traitors. Our government are oath breakers and traitors. Something that in ancient times would have had them freaking dead in some way or another.
Well, and it's obvious what happens when you set these incentives up too, right? Like the governments as a system are designed to create these kinds of outcomes, right? Like you don't have an ice cream cone if you don't have any ice cream. There's no reason, right?
No,
so what are they going to do with all the money that they claim to be taking to protect us?
We don't have control over our own government because a foreign country does.
Yep.
And people need to wake up to that shit. And it's really hard. Like I even talk to my dad. He's like, oh, Joe, come on. You have to be careful saying stuff. I'm like, if Israel, listen to this one. I'll share this one.
And Joe, just for your dad to say that,
Chevron,
but for your dad to say, be careful of saying that, he's admitting that someone else is in control.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have to be careful to say that.
Yeah, listen to this.
A quick message to the American people. I know sometimes when things are said coming from Africa, people do not tend to take it seriously overseas. But I would just like you to take a minute and listen, because we have been following some of these issues for quite a while ourselves here. What you call the deep state in the U.S., the deep state with all these conspiracy theories about assassination of your leaders or people disappearing, JFK and all that. Well, the deep state is Israel. And what you call the uniparty is Israel. what you also call the swamp, Israel. Thank you.
Anyway, that's where I'm at. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it probably and is probably a word you ought to put in there. Like a lot of times, right? There's a lot of other things that are part of it.
Well, yeah, they're the deep state, and they run the Federal Reserve, and they run Hollywood, and they run the media, and they run big tech, and they run all the VCs, and they run whatever the banks, and they run pharma. What else does Israel have its hand in that is killing us over here?
We tend to export. We tend to export industries. We tend to export industries there.
Greatest ally.
Yes.
We tend to export industries there that do stuff that our government is squeamish about doing here.
That's one question, and Lee talked about this. Why does everyone say that? Because he's like, yeah, England says that, says that too.
It's a mind fuck.
Well, it's because that's all you want to buy a black hat hacker,
maybe
right?
it is true.
You want to buy a hacking tool?
I know whenever there's war, we send a bunch of our people to go die, and Britain is like, hey, we're going to send some of our kids to go die too, buddy. Even Canada, hey, we'll send some of our kids to die. We're like, when it comes to money, how
it's not just Israel though.
Are they our biggest ally? What is it?
Biggest ally is identical to saying public schools.
It's hyperbole. It's like saying
it's a lie. It's a lie.
It's diplomacy speak. It's crap. They have to say that kind of stuff to all the allies.
Yeah.
Our greatest ally. You're talking about our greatest ally. Yeah, I mean, it's a lie. It's just
it's the ally we're talking about right now. So
look up the USS Liberty, for God's sake, and the fact that you, for a time, you would get banned for talking about it on Twitter, and you definitely get banned for talking about it on Facebook, and the government will deny
don't know how to speak in
what is known to be the truth.
How about December 7th? They knew day. They knew day.
Right.
Or he knew day. How about the Gulf of Tonkin?
They had SIGINT on it. Yeah, that was
USS Maine.
Yep.
9/11.
Yeah, it's all false.
It's all manipulation.
Revolution against Mossadegh.
It's all manipulation, because if you want to call it the military-industrial complex, married with, the central banks and married with
magic is what it is.
That said, there are some good newses that suggest a rising striking back.
What do you
guys think about Chevron? What do you guys think about Chevron?
Blockchain is one of them. Yeah, we haven't even talked about Chevron. This is
that's a big deal.
Okay, I'll tell you about Chevron. The thing that
because that's something to go into. But when a bunch of colonial upstarts wanted to create their own country, do you know who stepped in and made part of it happen and made no one else help England? Russia. Do you know when the country split itself? And who threatened to go to war with any country that recognized the southern states as a country? It's Russia. That's always been there. And they are our greatest enemy.
So during that time period, they would have been Tsarist, right?
Yeah.
Catherine Great.
So anyway, so let's get into it, because I do have I want to hear what Greg has a lot of info about Chevron, right? And
it's really it's almost a whole episode if we wanted
SEC, to. Yeah, it would be a good episode.
And Lisa and I did a show about.
I've been told. See, I need to watch that. I've been told by our own attorney that it's a very costly endeavor, that we will expect like a decade worth of lawsuits against the EPA and again, trying to get stuff.
And thank God, man.
Yes,
clawing back our power.
For something like us, sitting in our case right now, it is not really that meaningful. At least not directly.
He's wrong. Meaningful. He's just afraid to do it. He's afraid.
I want my reparations.
I don't think he's afraid to try to charge me money I don't have to do it. Is probably what he's afraid of.
That's probably more. But like the argument itself, the first person to make it is going to get the SEC backing off real fast. They don't have the backing of Chevron anymore. They can't claim that their definition of security includes crypto without having a legislation. They just can't.
Yeah.
Well, we're not even at trial yet. We're talking about multiple tens of thousands of dollars still in discovery before we even get to
But
trial.
this precedent change, to me, entitles you to another motion for summary judgment.
Yes.
Maybe.
Immediately.
Maybe
That's
so.
what I would do if I was your lawyer, man. I'm sorry. I'm not your lawyer, so this is not legal advice. But if I was a litigator in that case,
maybe we can get you in a
I would
call with
seriously, I would be like, we're just going to do one motion for summary judgment, make it
Okay.
entirely on the definition of security, point out Chevron.
So let's figure out if we
rule.
can do a show on Chevron, even if it's a special edition or something. But either way, we have 10 minutes remaining. So I am for I am. What's up this week?
I would like everyone to. I am not Den.Social. I'm just a user on Den.Social, and I encourage everyone to take a look at Den.Social. There, I said it several times so that you'll know that I'm talking about Den.Social because that's an advertisement. No, really, think of it this way. If you're tired of censorship on Reddit, go to Den.Social. If you want to earn crypto, maybe you never had crypto before, you can do it there. All you got to do is post content or evaluate content, and all it requires is an email, and that email could be a bogus email. And the community is going to vote you up or vote you down based on the quality of your content. So there you go. Go Den.Social. That's where you'll find me.
Right on. Lisa, what's up this week?
Well, hi, everybody. Go to Den.Social, check out the Mighty Lair, join the Mighty Lair, join in the conversation that we have. I am for I am, and I are doing shows on Monday, and Sean and I are doing shows on Tuesday on YouTube and Twitter. We have our Truth Tuesday, and then I'm on most days of the week having other conversations. I always try to be here for WBRT because I love it.
Satoshi Sean.
Yeah, I think me and Greg are doing something this weekend. Having a fireside chat. I think we're probably going to talk about the Chevron thing a lot then. You guys come on if you want to. Me and Lisa, check us out on Truth Tuesday. First half's on her channel, second half's on mine. I don't know if I said what I think, but I did on Tuesday. I think that if they want to win, which I don't know if they now I'm thinking they did. I don't know if you know this, but today 25 senators
wrote a letter,
wrote a letter and called for Biden to step aside. So they're going that route, I guess.
As president or as a Democrat nominee?
As nominee.
Democrat nominee.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought they were going to bring in Big Mike, the former First Lady, to run for president, and that Jill Biden, the current First Lady, would run as VP.
Oh my
God!
Furious First Lady force. Touching their rings and getting their twin powers to activate. And honestly, if they do that, I think America would eat it up. I really do.
Yeah, I'll be surprised. I mean, I'm surprised they aren't really headed that way. Who knows?
So, but yeah, check us out. Check out Pepe Tato Man.
Pepe Tato Man. Okay.
Pepe Tato Man.
Okay. All right.
It's not an Irish guy came up with that or anything, but yeah, Pepe Tato Man.
Right on. Greg, it's your turn.
So I've got two quick things, guys. One, where we are with Chevron being what it is now, it's like 2018. Remember when that first case came down against CoinSwap or whatever, EtherSwap? I forget which one they sued first, and then all of a sudden people stopped making new projects. They did that because they could define a security like they hand through Chevron, and only because of that. It's 2018 again, and the canvas is awaiting your pen.
Yep.
And I'll say a second thing. This is Independence Day in the United States. We celebrate something absurd having happened. A tiny little colony destroying an empire. Are you going to build that tiny little colony? Well, maybe, if you are willing to act permissionlessly and just build something incredibly audacious. So don't wait. Go do it. The canvas is open, and you have nothing to lose but your shackles.
Yep.
We need a clip, man. 4th of July.
Oh, darn it. I actually
no longer, it's just an American holiday.
Here, 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna find
Day
something.
the world cried out. We will not go quietly into that night. We will not go down without a fight. Do you know the guy that did the salute was just an extra, and he did that on his own?
Really?
Yeah, it's like he's like the hero of all extras in films.
I have a good takeout for it, a good video. It's election related, so I'll show that. I don't even think it'll offend anyone. But love all you guys. Thank you for being on here because it was very exciting and very good stuff. And I will say, a republic, if you can keep it, and it's obvious we can't keep it. We couldn't keep it. We lost it. We could gain it back, but I'd rather look forward and gain something better back. Right? I think
they had blockchains. They never would have built one to begin with.
Yeah. So I'm going to exit next week. We have a theme, which is a brainstorm session, how to tokenize assets with and without ownership. So get in there when the post is up, leave a blockchain related question or a question about the topic. Make sure you share this episode so that all the people here, especially William, can surpass all of us in the ownership of the DAO. The more views we get, and it looks like most of our views are coming from X, right? Mm-hmm. Almost entirely, yeah. It's like most of them are coming from X. Even
I got a 1 minute video that you would probably want to show.
Props to Elon for not censoring us, even though we're advertising another social media company.
Okay, so I'll look at that video next. We may run that next.
We're not advertising.
Let me. Is it okay? I don't know if I have time to play it. Let me see here.
No,
do I have time to play it?
I don't think you do.
Okay, let me play this on the out, and we'll play it next week. Is that all right? Just bring it back again next week. All right. So thank you guys. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks a bunch.
Oh.